Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes,
Niobe. What advice would you give us on how to reconcile when we make big, costly mistakes?
Well, I don't think there are any mistakes in life. I really don't. I've made big, costly mistakes in my life when I was in business and relationships and stuff like that. I've made big, costly mistakes, but I learned later they weren't mistakes. They were incredible opportunities for me to learn how to grow and learn how to change in myself. So I stopped stepping into that pile of nonsense, and I think if you look at it that way, whatever it was, I mean, I'm not even interested in what it was, whatever it was, it will serve you for the rest of your life. When I talk about this, sometimes, but when I first opened an art gallery in New York, I was selling Asian art. I had a huge inventory of Asian art that I had bought from somebody. And I'll never forget, somebody called me up and said, I have a Chinese bronze from the 18th century. Are you interested? Well, please try and sit still. I have a Chinese bronze from the 18th century. So I went and I bought this bronze. It cost me $200. It wasn't a big mistake. Turned out to be a fake. And I kept that bronze on my desk. And I would see it every single day. And it was a consistent reminder to me to when I buy something from anyone, I have to examine it more closely. I have to find out what it is. I have to get more knowledge about it. I have to learn. That bronze that I paid $200 probably saved me $100,000, maybe more, over a period of years that I was in that business. So mistakes aren't mistakes. They're incredible opportunities to learn about what we have to do to grow in our life, what we have to do to become more conscious human beings. And if we learn that, I mean, these mistakes we made that sometimes we feel, sometimes we really drive ourselves crazy with them. We say, oh my God, look what I've learned here. Look what I have learned. And what you have learned will benefit every step you take in the future of your life. So if you look at it that way, I promise you, I don't know what it was. I'm not even interested. I don't care what it was. It's your life and what you have to live through. But if you use it the way I'm talking about, I mean, it will serve you the rest of your life. Whether it's your interaction with people, your relationships, your financial investments, whatever it is, we all make mistakes. And there's no reason to beat ourselves up because we make mistakes. It's just a matter of what did I learn? I mean, I have this with my daughter. She goes and does some things and, oh my God, Daddy, and the only thing I say to her is, I never judge. I say, what did you learn? What did you learn? Oh my God, I learned this. And oh yeah, so look, you went through a hard thing, but you learned something that will be very important in your life as you continue to move forward in your life. I mean, that's basically the way I look at those things, Niobe. It really is. I don't think there are mistakes in this world. I think people do some horrible things, but if they learn from those things, you understand? I mean, the world would be a very different place. I mean, when I was younger, I said, well, how can people not learn anything from this idiotic Vietnam War that we're fighting? How can the people in power not learn how stupid war is? Doesn't do anything but kill people. Have they learned? No, we're ready to fight a war in Europe right now. I mean, it's just insane. And the problem is that people don't learn from the things they do. They just keep repeating the madness over and over again. So I really hope that you use it that way, Niobe, and you recognize that whatever it was that took place in your life is not a negative thing. Oh, you might have lost some money, you might have had some hard time in relationships. I don't know what it was, but if you look at it correctly, I mean, I had a thing that happened to me years ago where I'll tell you, I lost a fortune of money. And it was a big mistake that I made. But it really taught me something profound about how I have to function in my life and how I have to live in the future. And it transformed it into the deepest spiritual work that I've done in my life. Does anyone else have a question? I hope it's clear. I don't know how to make it any clearer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, dear. It's always good to see you in the meditation classes, you know. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart?
Yes, Tonya.
If one's seeking to lean on guidance for making decisions in one's life or making choices in general, what type of ways can one get access to that kind of guidance?
Well, it depends, you know, there's all kinds of guidance in life. There's spiritual guidance. If you find a teacher who is willing to give and share with you what they have learned in their life, and this is a very valuable asset, and it has to be used. You can never take it for granted. You know, I mean, if in the economic world you find somebody who has more wisdom about investing money, like I found somebody, I mean, you have to listen. You have to listen. You understand? Because, you know, people have wisdom, people have knowledge. Everybody, you know, has a different field of guidance in their life, a different field in which they've lived their lives. And there isn't a human being alive who cannot teach us something. We have to have the capacity to listen. Understand? I mean, look, for 9 years, I looked for Rudy. I didn't know I was looking for Rudy, but I knew I was looking for somebody who can truly guide me and truly make it possible for me to have a spiritual life. And when I met him, I listened. I listened. And I surrendered unconditionally to whatever he had to teach me. And sometimes the teachings were really rough, because they took apart my ego, my image I had of myself and who I thought I was, and, you know, and I had to listen. I had to listen. It's in every field, you know, you have a legal battle, you got to go to a good lawyer and listen. You know, and the whole problem with people is we don't listen. We know better than the people that can give us advice. Understand? I mean, it's such an important element in life, because frankly, I really believe the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, you know, it sends us people who can provide that kind of wisdom, and it does it all the time. Do we listen? Do we learn? Or do we know better? And if we know better, you know, we often miss out on very great wisdom that can come to us. I remember I was sitting with my teacher, Rudy, in his gallery, and this bag lady walked in, a beggar woman, you know, walked in and dressed in rags. And you know, he didn't get upset. He didn't throw her. He just said, you know, he after she left and he talked with her for a little bit, he said to me, you never know how God is going to manifest in your life. It's like that book, Joseph Campbell, The Thousand Masks of God, you know? You never know what is going to teach you. If you know better, you know, you can lose that important piece in the puzzle that's going to get you your spiritual enlightenment. It doesn't mean you're a naive schmuck, you know, but it means that you recognize that every human being has something to teach. And we have to learn to listen. We also learn to work out our karma that way and not spend our lives knowing better than everybody and being right all the time, and not only driving ourselves crazy, but anyone we meet, we drive crazy. So I'm very open for advice, to learn, to recognize the gifts that are in just about everybody I meet, and to learn from them.
You speak about people giving guidance and advice. What about internally? Is that also a form of getting guidance?
Yeah, if you develop a chakra system inside yourself, like I constantly talk about, you will be given advice internally. You will be given the steps that you need to take to have a spiritual life. You'll also be given the patience, you know, to be able to deal with other people. You'll be given the strength to be able to open to receive the energy of God. You know, this energy of God is not some twiddlywinks type of energy. It's a powerful energy. You got to have the strength inside yourself to be able to receive it. So if you develop the kind of chakra system I talk about, it gives you guidance. It gives you internal answers. It gives you instinct. And instinct is usually better than mulling it over and thinking about it until you have ripped it into 1,000 pieces and it really doesn't even exist anymore. It gives you the capacity to do these things without, you know, imposing your ego on other human beings, being right, being better. I remember once I was sitting with Rudy, I was doing this renovation for a guy who was a fairly famous photographer in New York, who was renting a studio in one of Rudy's buildings. It was going to be a gallery. And he hired me to renovate the studio. And, you know, it was scraping beams and this. And the guy was a little bit, you know, nutso, you know. And I was sitting with Rudy and I said, you know, and he really got upset. He said, what right? He hired you. What right do you have to judge him? You know, this man is one of the most famous photographers in New York City. Learn from him. You know, and I think as you build that kind of inner life, it gives you the strength to defer to other people, to learn from them. It gives you the strength to learn from your own internal wisdom that you have. Not wisdom that knows better than everybody, but wisdom that really teaches you how to grow in your life, how to act in the world so that you grow every day of your life. But you've got to build a system inside that is capable of doing it. And that's not easy because that requires an incredible depth of surrender. It requires doing stuff you don't really want to do. You know, I mean, it requires, you know, really learning and opening to learning and doing whatever is necessary to learn how to develop a spiritual life. And that comes with, as I say 100 times in almost every class, the development of a chakra system that makes it possible for a human being to do what I'm talking about.
It's 2 o'clock.
Because without that kind of development, we spend all our time in our heads, all our time in our emotions, you know, and I mean, it's like a swamp, you know, and an endless labyrinth of conflict and craziness, you know? So, you know, I think it's such an important thing. Look, it's why I have all these classes. You think, I mean, teaching 7 of these classes a week, 2 today, there's going to be 50 to 60 people coming to these classes today. I mean, this is not a job that you know, that's easy to do, but it also is making it possible for me to grow spiritually. Like I never dreamed I could grow. And it's the reason I do it. And one of the joys in my life is seeing people growing, seeing their lives evolving, growing, changing. And it's something that teaches me how important it is to do this. But if you want inner guidance, develop a chakra system. Get your mind centered in the chakra below the navel instead of constantly bouncing around in your head. You know, get your heart open, really open, unconditionally. You know, and you will get wisdom inside yourself that you never dreamed you could ever get. I mean this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I told you these questions are really good and they bring out levels of teaching that I don't think about before I sit down here. It just comes out. And I hope you're all benefiting. I know I'm benefiting from it. As I tell you all the time, it's not me talking, it's this higher energy that just flows through. Using, you know, Stuart as a vehicle, you know, to bring this energy into the world. I can't take credit for it, and I won't. But it also teaches me you have to continue to go deeper, because wherever that came from, there's much more and there's much deeper wisdom and things that will manifest. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. Thank you. And there'll be a class on Tuesday. And as I always end these sessions, you're probably tired of me, you know, saying this. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm very grateful to sit and to do this meditation with all of you. And I'm grateful for it because I can't tell you how much every one of you teach me and help me to grow in my life. And it's that profound gratitude of seeing people here willing to work on themselves, taking the time at this time of the day to sit and do this, that really inspires me to work in great depth in myself. So God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. You know, there'll be a class on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.